Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the Chairman's press briefing. A few items to go over before we begin. We've issued 4 news releases today. 3 of them are on the agenda. They include the termination proceedings, the NOIs on blanket authorizations, and the review of oil pipeline index items, which is G1 and G3. In addition, we've also issued a news release on the NOPR that the chairman referenced on the 5-year review. For those in the room, please identify yourself and your organization before you ask a question. Those reporters online, if you have a question, raise your hand. The chairman is always on the record. Staff is always on background. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chairman Sweat.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I personally believe your role is incredibly important to what FERC does and also to my success. So I'm grateful to get to meet you all, and I look forward to having a transparent and efficient commission with your help. As I mentioned in my remarks, my priorities outside of ensuring reliable and affordable energy for all Americans include winning the AI race by connecting and powering data centers and streamlining permitting to encourage energy infrastructure investment and construction. I'm very optimistic, given our first meeting and how it went, that our contingent of 5 commissioners can successfully tackle the critical issues before FERC. And I'm excited to see how you all write about it during my tenure. That said, I'm open for questions. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm George Wycombe with Platts. Thank you so much for continuing this tradition. Really appreciate it. The first question I have for you today is on the DOE proposal that Secretary Wright sent to FERC. I know you can't really speak on the merits as it's a pending proceeding, but I was just curious if you could speak on if you're having any further collaboration with the Department of Energy on that proposal or with the White House Office of OIRA or OMB, and if you think that the Commission is currently on track to meet that April 2026 deadline that the Secretary proposed.
Thank you for the question. The subject of the rulemaking, which I think you're asking about, the co-location one.
Yes, the data centers and
Yes.
large loads.
That obviously is top of mind for me. That issue is my biggest priority. And an issue facing our country of this import cannot be solved by any one person or one agency alone. And that's why we are so excited to open this docket for comments, because it is so important that everyone weighs in, that DOE weighs in, other agencies, the administration, the states, all of the stakeholders, the data centers. We want everyone's comments, and so we are very much looking forward to that. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Maya Weber with Platts. Thanks again for doing this and continuing to hold press conferences. You mentioned that one of your priorities is streamlining permitting. We are seeing some of that with the LNG and hydro today, but can you share any other ideas you may have for cutting back on those processes? And then secondly, on the LNG proposal specifically, I'm just curious if you can comment at all on the threshold for the type of projects you wanted to include in that, and to what extent that would get into expansions. I know the gas certificates have a dollar threshold, but I'm curious how you kind of slice that here.
Sure. Thank you for the questions. My answer to both of them is actually the same. I am a traditional regulatory lawyer. I've been doing this for 15 years, and I've formed on my own independent judgment various ideas I have about subject matter. However, every time I think I've had an idea in practice, once I have more information, I change my mind if the information goes in a different direction, even if it goes against my preconceived notions. So actually, as my career has evolved, I've learned to actually keep an open mind. And I think that openness is particularly important to the position that I have the honor of holding right now, which is to see when we have the dockets open, what does the evidence say? What do the stakeholders file in response? And that is why it is so important that I hope we actually get very detailed comments from stakeholders so that we can be best positioned to solve these issues for our country. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Tom Tiernan with the Energy Daily. Maybe somewhat of a similar answer, similar question in terms of permitting and the hydro notice of inquiry. This is for post-licensing activities, as I understand from the brief description. So the licensees already have their licenses. It's permitted. Why go through an NOI when it involves activities for licenses that are already existing?
Well, staff is available to answer any more questions in detail about the specific language in the NOI, but from a larger viewpoint, anytime an agency acts, we have to have justification to do so. I, in particular, really value legal durability, which is why I have chosen the general counsel who I have, James Dawson. I want everything that FERC does to be well-reasoned and supported by the record evidence. Therefore, we open a docket so that we can actually see what the stakeholders want and what can be supported by the law.
Thank you. I was tempted for a follow-up, but I won't now. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
James Downing, RTO Insider. Some of your predecessors have mentioned publicly that the commission was investigating, had non-public investigations into activity around Winter Storm Uri. Are any of those still ongoing?
Thank you for the question. As a former enforcement lawyer, I would not speak to any non-public investigations before the commission makes them official. There's a reason for that regulation. It's to protect the entities before we come up with a conclusion and they are given appropriate due process. That said, I will have to check on that answer for you of what I can tell you, but I'm happy to provide staff as follow-up for you.
James, we'll get back to you after the meeting.
Yes.
Hi, Isla Mingus with Politico. It's nice to meet you, Chair Sweat. I understand that you've met with Senator Kevin Cramer and Congresswoman Julie Fedorchak on Secretary Wright's proposal to initiate a rule on speeding up data center connections, something you mentioned was one of your priorities during the meeting. And so I'm curious if you've had any other meetings with any other lawmakers, how those have gone, or if that's something that's on the radar for you. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this is my third week here. I have not had many meetings at all with any outsiders, and that meeting with Senator Cramer was a broad get to know you and various issues that the senator raised that were important to him. We had a great discussion, and I will continue to be available to any other legislators who do want to meet with me and share their priorities in a similar vein.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, Carlos Anchando with ENE News. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
I wanted to ask about LNG exports, and my question is, as some project developers request an extension of time to complete their facilities and place them into service, and you're also receiving new applications, to what extent are you concerned about a potential LNG supply glut in the near future, and how are you all approaching that from FERC's standpoint?
Speaking personally, I am not concerned about a lack of supply. My focus is on building more infrastructure so that we can secure our nation's energy future and support our allies. That said, every application that comes into FERC, we have procedure that we will strictly adhere to, and that involves looking at every application on its specific merits and the applicable law, and that will not change under my tenure. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Sweat. Nice to see that we've gone pretty much down the line here. I have two questions, if I may. First, on the hydro ANOPR and DOE letter, a lot of tribes have said that they would like more time to submit comments, and they believe that their deadline to submit comments has been too short. I'm curious if you have any response to the tribes who are making that complaint.
Thank you. My staff is reviewing the comments we've received now, and we will certainly take every request into account, including the one to extend the deadline.
Thank you. And if I may, a follow-up. I got a statement from you through the media office a couple of weeks ago that you would not be recusing yourself from 3 particular data center-related matters that I had submitted questions about. I was just curious, as a follow-up on that point, and I recognize to your point about you believe that is an urgent priority. Did you request the consultation of the designated agency ethics officer, Charles Beeman, on that matter, or do you plan to?
Yes, thank you for the question. I take ethical obligations very seriously. And to that end, as every single matter comes before me, I and my staff are looking at it to see if we do need to consult Mr. Beeman. And on anything that even remotely implicates any ethical question, we do seek Mr. Beeman's counsel and very much respect his input.
Do you recall if you did seek such a request for Susquehanna Nuclear versus FERC for the PJM 206 and for the large load ANOPR?
I don't recall the specific dockets, but I take my ethical obligations very seriously. So to the extent that I've participated in an order, that means that the DAO has weighed in and given me an opinion that I have adhered to.
Thank you very much.
Great, thanks everyone. Chairman, we have one question online.
Okay.
We'll go to Keith Goldberg with Law 360.
Hi, Chair. Thanks for holding this. It's appreciated. Last week, a group of former FERC commissioners, including several former chairmen, filed a brief with the Supreme Court, urging the justices not to overturn the tenure protections created by the Humphreys executive decision, or at the very least acknowledge sort of FERC commissioners' sort of unique role in things like electricity and gas rate making. And I know during your confirmation hearing you didn't really discuss, the Humphreys executor and sort of the litigation surrounding it. But I just wanted to get your take on how important you feel commissioners' independence is when it comes to kind of sort of the day-to-day nuts and bolts work the commission does with things like, electricity and gas rate making, reviewing sort of tariff provisions.
Thank you for the question. The nature of the work that we do here, which is, I think, even more evident now that we are a full contingent of 5, is everything that FERC does is independent, and it is independently voted on by 5 people with very diverse viewpoints. I have the honor of being designated chairman based on the president's faith in my independent experience and my independent judgment to run this agency. And by the nature of the statute that created FERC, the DOE Organization Act of 1977, we are explicitly carved out of DOE's jurisdiction with no review powers from anyone at DOE on FERC's independent actions. And given that in combination with the safeguard of the Administrative Procedure Act, which requires FERC action to go through many different rounds of getting stakeholder input and also commissioner input, FERC's independence is safeguarded structurally, and it will continue to be.
Thank you, Chairman. I think with that, we have no more questions. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you all very much for coming.
For reporters in the room, we're going to have staff available on background to answer questions on just agenda items only. So if you have questions on some of those items, we're able to answer them. Are you on the NOIs? Yeah. Okay.